let me move on to the casting of this show and talk a little bit about how maybe you guys can start. I mean, were there any performers who roles were created with certain performers in mind, or was it every character open? Were there auditions held for all of the characters?
They paid us, basically. These are the winners of the lottery.
Well, it was sort of it was similar to Battlestar in one way, in that this is, as you see, a mix of familiar faces and people you've seen and over the years are well-established actors, and then new faces and people that are going, just by virtue of their age, are going to strike the audience as a discovery. And I think one of the things that I've said now for a while, the one thing we needed to get just dumb lucky with on Caprica was the casting, because we were so fortunate on Battlestar. We had Oscar nominees and Vancouver dinner theater actors alike, and by the middle of the first season, but before that, I remember Bonnie Hammer saying as a condition of the series pickup, "You've got to get me off the damn ship. I can't be on this ship, every single episode." And as it happened, we had this actor, Tom Pennicott, who was a day player who played the character Hilo in the miniseries, who we sort of left down on Caprica. Bye. And that was the end of his story. And we went, wait a minute, we've got the answer. We can go back to him.
Right.
And these are not just opportunities that satisfy a given episode or a given storyline, that can actually make the difference on whether you get your series ordered or not, sometimes, if you do it right. And so by the end of Battlestar, we're writing to, AJ, and we're writing to Tomo, we're writing to guys who were, had 3 lines in the miniseries, now they're carrying episodes, and that's just the kind of, you can't plan for that. You have to just hope you get. So our hope was, can we please just get as lucky or near as lucky with Caprica? And now as we've completed the first season, and as we've looked, I've called Sasha in a way that's damning him with faint praise, the Tomo of Caprica, because like in Battlestar, he started in Caprica as a guy who was, we didn't necessarily have large plans for, and he was such an overwhelming presence in the pilot. We found ourselves really compelled to write for him, and that's what you want. That's really what you need. Is you need to have your staples, your mainstays, like Isai and Eric, who are your foundations, and then you need to be able to really get lucky with people you surround them with your discoveries. Magda and Alessandra are, 2 of the most exciting actresses I've ever seen, and we have them both in the same show. So that's the sort of thing you just can't, as I say, you can't plan for. You just have to hope.
So was Eric somebody who you had in mind for the role of?
He was on a short list, but I remember Jeff was a big proponent. Jeff Reiner, the director.
Jeff pushed. It was a slightly different process than Battlestar. In Battlestar, we kind of, early on in the process, we sort of said, well, it would be great if we got Edward James Olmos and Mary McDonnell for these 2 roles. That would be great. Wouldn't that be great? We kept saying to each other, that will never get that. And when we were developing Caprica, I don't think we literally had such a definitive sort of A and B of who we wanted, but there were short lists and there were people that were, wouldn't it be great if, and then I think we also had sort of the advantage of having the Battlestar's prestige to carry us forward, and we felt like, we're going to
people actually read the pilot script.
Yeah, we're going to actually, people actually read the script, and we might get some really good actors.
Right. Well, I remember we did an event in LA where Edward James Olmos said when he saw the Battlestar Galactica script, he just threw it aside, and then he was talked into reading it, and he had to have the part. Mark, what about the channel from the casting perspective? What role did you guys play?
Whatever they said they liked, we agreed with.
They're laughing.
In our contract.
Yeah, I think there's some boilerplate in there. No, you know what? It's very much, I think, I don't think it's a luck, though, that they got the cast they've got on both shows. And I think that it was really because of great material. And I think the best surprises have been not just, I think, what was really interesting, I have to say this about Magda, what was really interesting about Magda was there was not a lot of attention paid to that role because she was just the best friend, right? She was just Lacey, the best friend. And I think that it really is a testament, I think, to really how good these guys are, and obviously how amazing Magda is, that she blew up. Much like Sasha, I think that they were the ones that you didn't really necessarily pay a ton of attention to in casting, who really took on those roles, and not that you were just like, whatever, hire whoever, we don't care. I mean, there was discussion around it, but when you're casting your leads, there's all of this back and forth, and you send the tapes to New York, and then there's discussion back with that. And these were roles that were basically like, okay, we think they're great, go with it. And I mean, it is, just as David said, it is like the blessing when you have that kind of depth in cast that you're going to watch a full hour of a character like that, and that actor is going to be able to carry it and bring something brand new to it. And I think that's really true of both shows, and I don't think it's a mistake. I think it is because of some really skillful casting and some great material.
Yeah.
And it really is an organic process, because what happens in the writer's room when you actually are in production and you're doing the show and your dailies are coming in and you're creating stories simultaneously, you start watching dailies and you start noticing things, and you start saying, oh, well, he did well with that. He could do that again. Or did she just do that? Run that back. And look at that look on her face. And you start picking up these little clues, because when you're watching the show with the writers or by yourself and you're a writer, you're trying to hear their voices. You're trying to understand, how does Alessandra play Zoe as opposed to what I thought Zoe would be on the blank page. Okay, now it's Alessandra. Now I'm trying to pick up her voice, and she's trying to, and there's this sort of, you're trying to come together and create this character. And you start noticing what they can do, and the greatest thing of all is when you realize that the cast is lifting the material. When the cast is taking a line that's just a simple line of walking in and saying hello, or just doing some bit of business, and they're creating something else with it, and you kind of sit forward and you go, oh, well, I'm going to give them something else.
Right.
And with this cast, in a very similar way to the Battlestar cast, is that you were constantly going, wow, throw them this, do that. Hey, they can do this. He's really good at that, and and you just kept finding.
Or in the case of Alessandra, we can't just have a robot on screen. We need that actress now, so let's come up with a device. And that was the engine for that, because in the initial planning, I remember us talking with Raimi going, the actress we hired to play Zoe isn't really in the series. And it's kind of a problem. And it was...
That's okay, because we won't pay her much.
Yeah, exactly. And so it was her performance more than anything else that drove us to this conceit of, okay, we're going to show the audience the girl inside the robot.
Well, wait, that's an interesting point, because I mean, I don't want, again, to ask you guys to give too much away, but I watched this and I think that, I could be wrong again, Mark, but I think that Zoe is somehow an early incarnation of humanoid Cylon. That somewhere that's where that's going, and that I would think that's surprising for me to hear you say that wasn't always part of the plan, to show this human inside.
Well, it's not that she wouldn't have been in the show. She just wouldn't have been in the show nearly as much. Okay. We would have seen her in virtual world. Yeah. Whatever the plans may or may not have been along the lines you're talking about would have probably remained the same. It was really this impulse that said that actress needs to be on screen.
Okay.
And,
In that dress.
And part of it, part of it was a production thing, in all honesty. Part of it was, oh, well, we can't afford to do the CGI character, robot in every single shot. But then what actually turned out is this became a more expensive option because it takes longer to shoot these things, because we now have to shoot the scenes 2 ways. Right. And you stand there and the crew groans because you'll do the whole show, the whole scene with Alessandra, and then, okay, time for the robot pass. And it's like, everybody goes, oh my God. Now
and
we
it's just
go
a
back to the
dot.
beginning and do everything.
And it's just a stick.
With just this stick. And the actors all have to do it. And, it's a huge
Like a great story, she had to hug the stick. And like it was a very emotional scene, and we are looking at her like, oh my gosh, what
And
is going
she's
on?
like talking way over there. Oh, I love you, Alessandra.